Ladies and gentlemen, the Singapore economy just received two very bad news, and I think it's important for us to analyze this bad news and see what's the implication to us as not just the residents of Singapore, but more importantly in our investments as well. Let's watch on, shall we? So the title of my talk today is Singapore economy is in more trouble. I think in the past videos we actually gave some hints that there could be some rumbling and storm coming, but right now we have got concrete numbers coming out indicating some of the economic sectors are in trouble. And could there be a recession soon, right? So we analyze all this today. As usual, this video is for education and entertainment and not for financial advice, but let's just watch on. So in today's news, Singapore key exports shrink an unexpected 11.3% in August. And with this, this is a very steep plunge, and this is having a big impact to our Singapore economy because trade is a large part of our economy. US and Indonesian market leads the slide, and I'll talk about it shortly. Now, take note, the economists actually forecast a 0.8% expansion, okay? And that's quite a big difference from economic projections. To add more colors, Singapore economy is currently at some form of risk. Our trade, which is highly dependent on external factors, our trade is three times that of GDP, and our GDP clearly, as a result, is under risk. And we right now continue to face the headwinds of the trade war between all the US and the counterparts. And right now we have got two big signals, which is our exports and our jobs are weakening rapidly. So let's talk about our non-oil export first. So our non-oil export fell by 11.3% in August. That's a year-on-year crash, and that's very significant. July already have a decline of about negative 4.7%. So this actually worsened, of which we right now have electronics going down by 6.5% and non-electronics going down by 13%. So across all sectors, there is clearly a demand slump. Just to give you the breakdown, our electronics sector has some kind of a collapse. IC chips negative 7.4%, PC parts negative almost 40%. This media negative 28, machineries minus 30, food minus 50, petrochemicals minus 23. So clearly, right, we do have a very serious slump in the export. Now, which are the key markets that are facing a slump? Well, when you export means you have to sell it to a certain country, right? So US is leading the decline with a 28.8% decline in exports. And that's quite serious, right? Because US is one of our key market. And what is worse is that if we, Singapore, is facing this decline in exports, I'm sure other countries are also facing a similar kind of phenomena. And we can see that China has a 21.5% drop in demand. Now, why China has a fall in demand is largely, in my opinion, because they have a fall in exports as well. And their major exporting country is to US. And in Indonesia, which is also one of our leading export countries, there's almost 40% massive reduction in exports. So we are now seeing a severe all-out global kind of phenomena in declining weakness. So the non-export index of 2025 so far we're looking at is it started off pretty good, right? 6.1%, 4.3%, 2% in March, and then April, May, and then it start declining in June, negative 2.1%, then negative 4.7% in July, and now negative 11.3%. This is as clear, okay, as it can get that we have a declining trend of non-oil export. So this is a very serious, phenomena, and let's all take this seriously now. As a result of the decline in exports, our GDP will be hit, and if that's the only problem, well, that's fine. But generally, a decline in exports also brings about other impact as well. We're not too sure whether the decline in exports caused all this, but our labor market is also in trouble. So while the overall employment situation looks okay, but our under 30s and above 60s are facing a very significant decline, right? So right now the Unemployment rate for above 60 have increased to 2.5%, and under 30s has increased to 5.7%. Young people are having difficulty in finding jobs, and that's very serious, right? And interestingly, the degree holders, right, have a slight uptick in unemployment as well. So overall, labor market right now have a serious issue. Okay, it's something that we need to deal with very quickly and very swiftly. Now, just to put more details into this, this is the first time in 2025 that unemployment rates for those under 30s went up. And that's quite serious, you know. Young people are not able to find jobs. And I regard this largely to the disruption by artificial intelligence. On top of that, there is also a weakness in the economic numbers. So it's a double whammy. Well, it's not all bad sign. There's some small positive sign that the employment actually gone up by 10,000 in Q2, and there's some finance and healthcare growth in these sectors. But job vacancies, clearly has some softening. But the truth is, we still have a lot of job vacancy, right? We have about 77,000 job vacancy, and and this is something I want to address as well. For younger people who are trying to find a job, I know you want some dream job whatsoever. When when it is time just to take some humble pie, just to bring food to the table, it's okay to just take on some unglamorous job for now. And maybe in this unglamorous job, you might be able to find some interesting opportunity next time in life. Now, a lot of people will start to ask me, so Mr. Lu, is Singapore at risk of going into a recession? Now, there are different definition of recession, but I use the more broader one as to talk about it first. First, are we going to a technical recession? A technical recession is defined as two consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. That means we need to have one whole quarter of negative plus another quarter of negative. But that's 6 months. By 6 months, you know, in Hokkien you say "Ti Geng" already, right? So we shouldn't wait until 6 months to evaluate whether we have a recession. So clearly, right now, if you were to look at it, more loosely, if there's a downturn in GDP, job losses, trade losses, production decline, and a significant decline in economic activity, you don't need to wait for 6 months, then you start reacting, right? So are we in some form of risk? Well, I think from a sectorial perspective, right, manufacturing companies are certainly at high risk of a sectorial recession. That means that the whole of economy, okay, may still be okay, but certain sectors are not okay. So, sectorally speaking, we have got the manufacturing and the export sector currently right now being hit. So it is possible, we have a more defined kind of a recession. But broad-based recession, I think not really, for two reasons. Number one is that we have a huge service sector they are still doing well, and I think that part of it is something that they are supporting the industry. Government spending still remains strong. Our government is a rich government, and they are supporting economy as much as they can. Just look at your CDC vouchers, just look at your skills futures, just look at some of the funding, just look at all the construction work that are going on right now across the whole country. Wow, this is all uplifted by Singapore economy, thanks to the reserve that's accumulated for our forefathers. And so there's also another sector they are clearly doing well, which is the construction sector, right? We are building a lot HDB. The demand is still insanely strong and things like that. I'm sure even the condos are also building strong. So we have this sector still doing well. So overall, I think there are some bright sparks in the economy that might save the day. So let's paint the scenario right now. I think the base case could be there's some sectorial recession. Okay, I don't think we'll go into a technical recession. I'll go a sectorial recession if you were to look at the next quarter. But I think that there could be some risk if the global slump continues to spread in a significant way. We might see that happen because there's a lot of tariffs that are now being erected by US towards the rest of the world. So If every country now have a decline, then Singapore, who are selling to these countries, will also have a decline. So all said and done, what should we do? Because it's one thing to know that there is some rumbling in the economy, and the other thing to know what we should do. Well, I think we should watch some of the numbers that are coming out, the GDP numbers that come out tonight. I think we would have Jerome Powell coming out with the interest rate announcement. The interest rate is bound to have a cut. That's fine. But more importantly, some of his signal about what's the direction moving forward for monetary policy, I think that's quite important as well. And there were repercussions throughout the whole of economy. We should also watch the employment numbers in Singapore and also in US closely, and our performance as well. That's at a macro level. At an individual level, I've said it before, I'll say it again: diversify, 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 right? So it's very clear right now that the bull run is now happening not just in the stock market, but the bonds market is also experiencing a significant uplift as well. I really told everybody, weeks and months ago it's coming, and now it is coming. So congratulations for those who have made money. But I think it's also a time to make sure we review our investment portfolio, that we are well diversified. There's some sectors when you not do well, is lifted up by some sectors that do well in our portfolio, right? And I always build emergency reserves. I would say at least 9 to 12 months, just in case something should happen. Dry powder is important, and this downturn, if it ever happens, could spell some opportunity for us, not just in stocks in US, but could be stocks market in Singapore, stock market in the rest of the world. But also maybe some business opportunity may come up as well, right? So let's just watch and see whether this thing will happen in a very surprise and shocking way. So thank you for watching. I hope to see you all in the live stream tonight as we evaluate some of these things in a closer look. Okay, thank you and bye bye.